Shadow of Vengeance. Tarek Zune traced a finger along the holographic projection, zooming in on the swirling lavender skin of his target. 3 years of tracking, of obsession, had led to this moment. Ambassador Naya Kyle, her delicate features illuminated by the soft blue glow of the space station's artificial lights, moved gracefully through the diplomatic reception, unaware she was being watched. Target confirmed on level 3. Eastern Quadrant, Tarek murmured into his comlink. Only silence answered. He worked alone these days. Ever since Naya's testimony had stripped him of his rank in galactic security, destroyed his reputation, and left him as little more than a shadow operating on the fringes of civilized space, the memory burned fresh. Her voice melodic even when delivering his professional execution, Commander Zune violated protocol, compromised Elonian security, and directly caused the deaths of 17 diplomats. A calculated betrayal that had protected her people's interests while sacrificing his career. Tarek adjusted his formal attire, a necessary disguise to infiltrate the interplanetary summit on Nova Station, a gathering of the 12 major species discussing trade, boundaries, and peace. How ironic that he'd come seeking anything but peace. His plan was simple: gather evidence of Naya's own violations, prove her hypocrisy, and expose her before the very dignitaries who now respected her. Revenge served cold, meticulous, and public. Ambassador Kyle, your presence is requested in Chamber Delta. The announcement echoed through the reception hall. Perfect. Chamber Delta was near the maintenance corridors. Less security, easier for Tarek to orchestrate their accidental meeting. He moved through the crowd with practiced invisibility, a skill honed during years of covert operations before his fall. The maintenance corridor was dimly lit, ideal for his purpose. Tarek positioned himself at the junction where Naya would pass and activated the small device in his palm. It's an illegal scrambler that would disable surveillance for exactly 90 seconds. Footsteps approached, light and measured. Then she appeared, her tall, slender form draped in traditional Elonian diplomatic robes of shimmering silver. Her purple skin seemed to glow from within, characteristic of her species. 2 arms gracefully at her sides, her movements fluid and precise. Her violet eyes capable of seeing into the infrared spectrum scanned the corridor ahead. "Hello, Naya." Tarek stepped from the shadows, blocking her path. Recognition dawned in those alien eyes, followed by something unexpected. Not fear, but resignation. "Commander Zune, I've been expecting you for some time. Not Commander anymore?" "You made certain of that." She tilted her head. The bioluminescent markings along her temple, pulsing softly in Elonian, physiological response to stress. "Is this where you kill me, Tarek?" The sound of his given name on her lips sent an unwanted shiver through him. Death would be too quick. "I want what you took from me. Justice." Her voice carried no mockery, only weariness. "Truth," he countered, advancing until barely an arm's length separated them. "The encrypted files from Outpost Syrinx. The ones proving you orchestrated the attack, not me." Aya's posture stiffened. "Those files don't exist." "Then why did 3 data specialists die trying to retrieve them?" A flicker of something guilt crossed her features before she controlled it. "Politics between our worlds is complex, Tarek. More complex than revenge." "Try me," he growled. For a moment, in the dim corridor light, he saw beyond the diplomat to the person beneath, someone carrying burdens perhaps as heavy as his own. Then the moment passed and Naya's professional mask returned. "We have a mutual problem," she said coolly. "Someone wants both of us eliminated. Perhaps we should discuss this somewhere less exposed." Tarek hesitated. This wasn't how he'd envisioned their confrontation. But curiosity, the instinct that had made him an excellent operative one, stirred beneath his anger. "Your quarters." 1 hour, he decided. "Come alone, or I release what evidence I already have." As he turned to leave, Naya's voice followed him, soft but clear. "We were never enemies by choice." Tarek, he didn't look back, but her words followed him down the corridor. Unwelcome complications to what should have been simple vengeance, colliding. Stars Naya's diplomatic quarters reflected her status, spacious by station standards. with panoramic viewports displaying the glittering expanse of stars beyond Nova Station. Tarek noted the security measures as he entered. Standard motion sensors easily bypassed. Biometric locks, more challenging, but not impossible. Old habits died hard. Your security is inadequate, he remarked, declining her gesture toward a seating area. A slight smile curved Nia's purple lips. For someone of your talents, perhaps. She moved to a concealed panel, her long fingers 5 on each hand. Just like a human's, despite her alien physiology, tapping a sequence. Drink. I didn't come for hospitality? No. You came for revenge. Nia poured herself something that shimmered like liquid mercury. Yet here you are, listening instead of acting. The Tarek Zun, I remember, was always more strategic than impulsive. His jaw tightened. The man you remembered died on Syrinx when 18 people were massacred and you blamed me. 17, she corrected quietly. The 18th survived. Tarek's pulse quickened. Who? Me. Nia touched a spot on her neck, and a holographic projection illuminated between them security footage he'd never seen before. The diplomatic outpost on Syrinx interior view. Bodies on the floor. And there was Nia, purple skin ashen, as she dragged herself toward an emergency beacon. A trail of indigo blood marking her path. This doesn't exonerate you, Tarek said, though doubt had begun its insidious work. No, but this might. She changed the projection to display internal communications. These orders came from high command your superiors, not mine. They needed a diplomatic incident to justify expanded military presence in the border systems. You were the scapegoat. I was the witness they needed. Tarek stared at the evidence, emotions warring within him. Why tell me this now? After 3 years, Nia's luminescent markings pulsed with increased intensity. Because whoever orchestrated this has reached the Galactic Council. 3 days ago, my primary aide was found dead. Yesterday, your former partner disappeared. They're eliminating loose ends, including us, Tarek concluded, mind racing through implications. Why should I trust you? Nia approached him slowly, close enough that he could smell her faint scent like rain on warm stone. Because neither of us will survive alone. Something electric passed between them, an awareness that transcended species and grievances. Tarek found himself noticing how her eyes caught the starlight, how the luminescent patterns on her skin shifted with each breath. Show me everything you have, he demanded, voice rougher than intended. Hours passed as they pieced together fragments of conspiracy names, dates, transmission records. Their collaboration formed a tentative bridge across years of resentment. Twice their hands brushed while reaching for the same data crystal. Twice Tarek felt an unwelcome heat rise in his chest. It's getting late, Nia observed eventually, stretching in a way that emphasized her slender form. The summit reconvenes early tomorrow. Tarek nodded, gathering himself to leave when a proximity alert sounded. Nia's screen showed for security officers approaching her quarters. Station security, she whispered. They shouldn't be here. I have diplomatic immunity. It's not security, Tarek corrected grimly, recognizing the subtle gait patterns. Assassins. Their eyes met in perfect understanding. In one fluid motion, Tarek dimmed the lights, while Nia activated emergency protocols, sealing the main entrance. Secondary exit? He asked, already moving toward the bedroom. Maintenance shaft, behind the refresher unit. They worked in silent coordination, gathering essential evidence, preparing for escape. When the first explosion rocked the outer door, they were pressed together in the narrow maintenance shaft, Tarek leading, Nia following. If we survive this, she breathed against his neck, we might need to reconsider our relationship. Despite everything, Tarek felt a smile tug at his lips. Let's survive first. Their escape through the station's infrastructure was a dance of shared instincts and complementary skills. When they finally emerged in an unused storage bay 12 levels below, adrenaline still coursed through their veins. Nia leaned against a bulkhead, breathing heavily. Now what? Tarek soon. He studied her Anami ally. Something undefined. Now we disappear. I have a ship docked on the maintenance level. Together. She asked, vulnerability briefly visible beneath her diplomatic poise. Tarek closed the distance between them, driven by impulses he'd deny later. Together. Their kiss was neither gentle nor tentativa, collision of stars after years in separate orbits. Her skin was warmer than human temperature, her taste exotic, yet intoxicating. Tarek's hands found the curve of her waist, pulled her against him as her fingers tangled in his hair. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Naya's bioluminescent markings pulsed rapidly with her heartbeat. That was, she began. A tactical error, he finished, though his body disagreed vehemently. I was going to say inevitable, Naya countered, a challenge in her violet eyes. Celestial consequences. 6 weeks passed aboard the Wanderer, Tarek's modified scout vessel. 6 weeks of narrow escapes, information gathering, and increasingly complex emotions. What had begun as an uneasy alliance had evolved into something. Neither could icily define nights spent together in the ship's single cabin. Days spent tracking the conspiracy that had destroyed both their lives. Naya stood before the small medical scanner in the ship's compact bathroom, staring at results she'd already verified twice. Pregnant. The readout confirmed what her body had been telling her for days. She carried a hybrid child, something previously thought impossible between her species and humans. She pressed her hands against her still flat stomach, conflicting emotions washing over her. Elonians viewed children as sacred gifts. Her culture would celebrate this miracle. But they were fugitives, hunted across 3 systems, with enemies in the highest echelons of power. And Tarek, would he say? Their relationship balanced on a knife edge between passion and the remnants of distrust. In the main cabin, Tarek analyzed transmission patterns from a Galactic Council member suspected of involvement in the conspiracy. His focus had turned to Admiral Voss, a career military officer with connections to mining interests in disputed territories. The same territories that would have fallen under military jurisdiction after the Syrinx massacre. Anything useful? Naya asked, entering the cabin with practiced composure. She'd decided to wait for the right moment to share her news. Tarek glanced up, expression softening momentarily before returning to business. Possibly. Voss rerouted substantial funds through Ceresian banks 3 days before Syrinx. Could be unrelated, but... Too convenient, Naya finished, settling beside him. Shoulders touched casual intimacy that still surprised her. Have you cross-referenced with the shipping manifests I acquired? Working on it. Encryption as Tarek stopped mid-sentence, frowning at her. Your markings are brighter than usual. Naya cursed inwardly. Her bioluminescent patterns betrayed emotional states she might otherwise conceal. Among her people, the particular pattern currently displayed typically announced new life. I'm fine, she deflected, reaching for the datapad. Just stressed. We should contact your fringe network associate about sanctuary options if Voss is indeed. Tarek's hand covered hers, warm and steady. Naya, what aren't you telling me? The question hung between them. Once secrets had been their currency, distrust their foundation. Now, after weeks of shared danger and shared intimacy, dishonesty felt impossible. I'm pregnant, she said simply. Tarek went completely still, his expression unreadable. That's not possible. Our species are apparently more compatible than previously documented, she finished, a nervous laugh escaping her. Approximately 6 weeks along. The child appears healthy, though obviously unique. He stood abruptly, pacing the small cabin. Naya watched him process the tension in his shoulders, the rigidity of his stance. The same posture he'd adopted. Upon their first confrontation on Nova Station, when revenge had been his only objective. This complicates things, he finally said. But that's an understatement. Naya's markings dimmed slightly. I understand if this changes it changes everything, he interrupted, turning to face her. We need better security protocols. Alternative escape routes. A permanent safe haven rather than constant movement. His voice turned grimmer. We need to eliminate the threat permanently, not just evade it. Not the response she'd expected. Tarek, I wasn't asking for. He knelt before her, surprising her into silence. His hands, calloused from years of combat, gently covered hers. 3 months ago, I wanted you to suffer. 2 months ago, I couldn't imagine my life without you. His voice roughened. Now you tell me we've created something impossible, a child that shouldn't exist. Naya held her breath. I don't know what that makes us, Tarek continued. Enemies, allies, lovers, none of those words seem adequate. He pressed his forehead against hers in an uncharacteristically tender gesture. But I know we're in this together. All three of us. Relief flooded through her, markings brightening involuntarily. The child will be hunted if our enemies discover its existence. Then we make sure our enemies aren't in a position to hunt anyone. Tarek's expression hardened with resolve. We have leveraged, now proof of the conspiracy. It's time to use it. A planning session extended into hours, strategies forming and reforming. But beneath the tactical discussions lay a profound shift to future neither had imagined possible. Later, as artificial night cycle dimmed the ship's lights, they lay entwined in the narrow bunk. Tarek's hand rested protectively over Nia's abdomen, his breathing steady against her neck. What will it look like? He murmured, voice thick with wonder. Purple skin? Human eyes? A perfect blend, she whispered back. Like us. His arm tightened around her. Nothing about us is perfect, Naya. She turned to face him, violet eyes meeting his gray ones. Perhaps not. But we're better together than apart. As sleep claimed them, the Wanderer continued its course through the stars. Carrying its cargo of secrets, vengeance, unexpected love, and new life fall hurtling toward a future as uncertain as it was precious. Bonds across worlds, the desert moon of Taraxis offered what they needed most, anonymity. Its sparse population of miners and outcasts asked few questions of newcomers, particularly those willing to pay handsomely for privacy. The abandoned communication relay station they'd converted into a temporary home stood isolated among rust-colored dunes, its outdated technology repurposed to monitor approaching vessels. Naya, now visibly pregnant at 5 months, adjusted the long-range scanner while Tarek cleaned his disruptor pistol at the makeshift table. Their domesticity felt surreal. Anomias turned lovers, turned family, all in the span of half a standard year. Another dust storm approaching, she noted, marking atmospheric disturbances on their security grid.
Yes.
Should obscure our thermal signature for the next 12 hours. Tarek nodded, reassembling his weapon with practiced efficiency. Good timing. Our contact from the Fringe Network arrives tonight with the Council access codes. These small exchanges, practical mission focus, provided comfortable territory amid the emotional complexity of their situation. But when Naya winced slightly, hand moving to her swollen abdomen, Tarek was immediately at her side. Tactical concerns forgotten. What is it? Is something wrong? His voice carried an urgency that would have been unthinkable months earlier. Naya smiled, taking his hand and placing it where their child kicked vigorously. Just someone making their presence known. Feel that? Strong, like their father? The wonder on Tarek's face, hardened operative rendered speechless by tiny movements. Beneath his palm made her heart ache with contradictory emotions. They had built something precious in the midst of danger, something that logic said shouldn't exist. I've been studying the genetic projections, she said softly, as he remained transfixed by the movements. The combination of Alonian and human DNA is creating something unique. The medical scanner shows heightened neurological development. Potentially telepathic capabilities from my lineage, combined with human adaptability? Tarek met her eyes, his expression troubled. A child that powerful will never be left alone if the Council discovers their existence. Especially not the child of 2 fugitives with evidence that could collapse the current power structure. The unspoken question hung between them. Was exposing the conspiracy worth endangering their child? Vengeance had transformed into justice, but justice now carried consequences beyond themselves. We need to consider alternatives, Naya suggested carefully. The evidence could be our insurance rather than our weapon. A dead man's switch ensuring our safety rather than our revenge. Before Tarek could respond, the security system chimed. Approaching vessel, southeast quadrant, matching signature of our expected contact. They moved with practiced coordination. Naya to the communications array, Tarek to defensive positions. The small transport landed precisely where instructed, dust billowing around its landing struts. The figure who emerged was unexpected, not their regular Fringe Network contact, but a woman Tarek recognized instantly. His former partner in galactic security, Alara Ven, the woman who had supposedly disappeared. "Weapons down, Zahn," Alara called, hands visible. "I'm alone and unarmed." Tarek kept his disruptor trained on her. "Last report said you were dead." "Technically I am." Alara approached slowly. "May we speak inside? What I have to tell you affects 3 lives now, not just 2. Naya joined Tarek at the entrance, her pregnancy impossible to hide. Alara's eyes widened momentarily, but she recovered quickly. "Congratulations seem inappropriate, given the circumstances," she said dryly.
Ow.
Inside, over bitter, stimulant brew, Ilara revealed the true extent of the conspiracy. Admiral Voss was merely one player in a complex network extending beyond the military into the Galactic Science Directorate. "They're calling it Project Synthesis," Alara explained, displaying classified files on their view screen. "Cross-species genetic experimentation, aimed at creating enhanced hybrid operatives loyal to the Council. They've been unsuccessful until now. Most hybrid embryos fail within weeks." The implication struck them both simultaneously. Naya's hand protectively covered her abdomen. New constellation, the Galactic Council chambers hushed as the evidence played across the massive holographic display. Representatives from 12 species watched in growing horror as Project Synthesis was exposed in methodical detail. Failed experiments, unauthorized genetic harvesting, the deliberate sacrifice of 18 lives on Syrinx to preserve the program's secrecy. At the center of the chamber stood the unlikely pair who had orchestrated this moment, Tarek Zun. Once disgraced operative, now whistleblower, and Ambassador Naya Kyle, her pregnancy visible beneath formal Elonian robes, her testimony damning in its precision. Admiral Voss and his co-conspirators sat in restraints, their protests silenced by the weight of evidence against them. Not just conspiracy and murder, but crimes against sentient rights across multiple jurisdictions. These violations strike at the heart of our galactic compact, Naya concluded, her voice carrying the authority that had once made her a respected diplomat. Not just laws broken, but sacred truths defiled, that each species' genetic sovereignty is inviolable, that life itself is not a resource to be engineered for power. The Council Overseer, a venerable Tellurian whose crystalline exoskeleton reflected light in rainbow patterns, leaned forward. "What you and Commander Zun have presented is irrefutable. Ambassador Kyle, justice will be served." The Overseer's faceted eyes turned to Tarek, a reinstatement to galactic security. "With full restoration of rank and compensation for damages, will be processed immediately." Tarek stepped forward. "With respect, Overseer, I decline reinstatement. My priorities have ... evolved." His gaze met Naya's across the chamber, a private moment amid public justice. 3 months of planning had led to this day, this reckoning. Working with sympathetic council members, building their case meticulously, ensuring their child's safety through legal protections rather than secrecy. The proceedings continued for hours, sentences pronounced, reforms demanded, apologies offered. When finally they emerged from the council tower, night had fallen over the capital world. Security escorts maintained a respectful distance as they walked to their temporary quarters. Strange to walk freely after so long in hiding, Naya mused, her hand finding his as they crossed the diplomatic plaza. Stranger still to be vindicated. Tarek squeezed her fingers gently. Vindication feels hollow after everything it cost. Not everything was lost. She guided his palm to where their child shifted restlessly. Some things were found. In their quarters, privacy at last allowed the tension of the day to dissipate. Tarek removed the formal attire he'd worn for the tribunal, while Naya sank gratefully onto the cushioned seating area, relieving the strain on her back. "The Council's genetic protection order ensures our child will be legally safeguarded," she said, reviewing the day's outcomes. "No research facility can claim interest without our explicit consent. The medical exemptions guarantee access to whatever specialized care may be needed as they develop." Now, Tarek nodded, but his expression remained troubled. "Legal protections only matter when laws are followed. We've seen how easily those can be circumvented." Naya understood his lingering distrust. It had kept them alive these past months. "What would make you feel secure?" He sat beside her, unusually hesitant. I've been considering options. The outer colonies offer privacy, but limited medical facilities if complications arise. Remaining in council space provides protection and resources, but visibility we may not want. Or, she prompted, sensing an alternative in his tone. Or this. Tarek retrieved a small data crystal from his pocket, activating it to display specifications for a deep space vessel. The Horizon. Retrofitted exploration ship, self-sufficient life support, state-of-the-art medical bay, defensive capabilities that technically exceed civilian regulations. Naya studied the schematics with growing understanding. A home among the stars. Neither hiding nor exposed, just free. With access to friendly ports when needed, but independence from any single jurisdiction, his voice softened. A place where our child can be extraordinary without becoming a specimen. Where we can be. Whatever we are becoming. The question beneath his words touched her deeply. What were they? Beyond allies, beyond lovers, two individuals from worlds that had always maintained careful diplomatic distance, now irreversibly connected. Whatever we are becoming, Naya echoed, taking his hand. We're doing it together. The Horizon sounds perfect. 2 weeks later, final preparations for departure were nearly complete. The Horizon, docked at a private berth on the outskirts of council space, gleamed with promise. Tarek supervised the loading of final supplies while Naya configured the ship's communication systems to her preferences. A soft alert chimed from the medical bay her scheduled prenatal scan. With Tarek still planet-side collecting the last components, Naya made her way to the automated medical unit alone. The holographic display flared to life as sensors passed over her swollen abdomen. Their child, a daughter, they'd recently learned floated in luminescent detail before her. Perfect features combining both lineages, hints of her father's strong bone structure, suggestions of her mother's graceful proportions. Most striking were the delicate patterns visible beneath. Translucent skin markings that would one day glow with emotions like Naya's own. "You are loved," Naya whispered to the image. "Across stars, across species, across everything that should have kept us apart. You are so loved." When Tarek returned hours later, he found Naya in their quarters, surrounded by holographic star charts. "Planning our first destination?" he asked, setting aside a package he'd carried aboard. She nodded, gesturing toward unexplored regions beyond council-charted space. "I thought we might begin here at the Callisto Nebula. Legends say the light formations predict the futures of those who traverse them." Fitting. Tarek sat beside her, uncharacteristic nervousness in his movements. "Before we depart, I have something for you. An Elonian tradition, I'm told, though adapted somewhat." From the package he withdrew a crystalline structure that caught light in patterns, reminiscent of Naya's bioluminescence of bonding sculpture, traditional among her people, signifying permanent connection between partners. "How did you learn of this?" she asked, emotion making her own markings pulse brilliantly. "Research," he admitted with a small smile. "And some assistance from your former diplomatic attaché. It's meant to be created by both partners." Understanding, Naya placed her hands on the sculpture alongside his. Where their fingers touched, the crystal responded to her biology. Patterns flowing from her skin into the material, intertwining with pathways Tarek had already established. "In my culture, this symbolizes that we are no longer separate entities, but a new constellation," she explained, voice thick with emotion. "Neither losing ourselves, but creating something greater together." "Like our daughter," Tarek said softly. "Like our family," Naya corrected. The completed sculpture glowed between them. Human and Elonian energy patterns merged into something unique, much like the child who would join them soon. As the Horizon broke orbit, charting a course into unexplored space, the three of them, man, alien, and the impossible miracle they'd created, began writing a new story among the stars. Not a tale of vengeance or politics, but of boundaries crossed, differences embraced, love found in the most unexpected of places. As the ship accelerated to sublight speed, the bonding sculpture cast prismatic patterns across the bridge, echoing the nebula that awaited them. Behind them lay the past, betrayal, conspiracy, vindication. Before them stretched a future unmapped and unwritten, a journey they would navigate together, one light year at a time. The vengeance that had once driven Tarek across the stars had transformed into something he'd never anticipated, not just forgiveness or even love, but a profound sense of belonging that transcended worlds. For Naya, the diplomatic caution that had governed her life had yielded to a deeper truth, that the greatest diplomacy began with the heart. Their daughter, child of two worlds that should never have merged, would chart her own course among the stars, carrying within her the proof that the greatest distances could be bridged, that the deepest wounds could heal, and that sometimes the most meaningful journeys began with a step away from everything familiar and into the unknown.